And here we go. It's not just Artemi Panarin that we are going out there and talking about trade destinations for. You can have the exact same conversation about Vancouver Canucks $11.6 million superstar, Elias Pettersson. And what I wanted to do in this video was refer to an article posted on dailyfaceoff.com by Matt Larkin 2 days ago that dive into 8 trade destinations to watch for in regards to the Elias Pettersson trade talks. Now, this isn't as intricate as Elliot Friedman going out there on TV and highlighting each of the 9 potential teams, but it is interesting to see what Larkin proposes on Daily Faceoff as to which teams could be in the mix. Let's just briefly go over which teams are in here and then dive into the pros and cons of each of them because, hey, 8 teams include 16 different combinations of pros and cons. So, Larkin writes about the Buffalo Sabres. He writes about the Hurricanes. He mentions the Blackhawks, the Detroit Red Wings, LA Kings, Minnesota Wild, Philadelphia Flyers, and San Jose Sharks. This is obviously an extensive list, and there are a number of combinations you can say that would be quite interesting for Vancouver's $11.6 million superstar. Does a reunion with Quinn Hughes in Minnesota make sense? Is a reunion with Rick Tocchet in the Flyers possible? Does a reunion with Kiefer Sherwood in San Jose make sense? And then, of course, you could also talk about JT Miller and the Rangers. Okay, no, that's not going to happen. But anyways, there are 8 teams. Let's dive into the pros and cons of each of them. In regards to the Buffalo Sabres, the article talks about how they have waited 15 years to make the playoffs. They have an aggressive GM in Jarmo Kekalainen, and they have long exceeded a critical mass of young talent in the system. They have plenty to spare. Whether it would mean including a Konsta Helenius or a Jiri Kulich or someone else with a first-round pick in a trade package. And also, they are ready to augment their core with veteran talent. Since they don't yet hold a locked playoff position, they're better off chasing players with term rather than rentals. Pettersson would add another high-ceiling player to their top 6, and his two-way game would be quite valuable to a Buffalo team that still surrenders too many scoring chances. Now, there is a fly-in-the-ointment statement here, too. The problem is the Sabres don't actually have a ton of cap space. Their top 4 defensemen in Dahlin, Power, Byram, and Samuelsson chew up more than $30 million. Up front, Tage Thompson is a bargain at $7.14, but Josh Doan's extension kicks in at $6.9 next year, while the Sabres are still trying to figure out an extension with Alex Tuch. With the Canucks unlikely to retain for 6 years on Petey, the Sharks and Hurdle are the exception, not the norm. Buffalo would need to move significant money Vancouver's way. BC native Bowen Byram and his $6.25 million AAV would be a logical ask. Man, I'm kind of sick of hearing about Bowen Byram's name. We've been hearing about this guy for years, and now it's like, oh, well, if we can't really figure it out, why not talk about Pettersson? Okay, I don't really know if that's going to happen. Petey in Buffalo makes a lot of sense, though. I think the pressure, the situation, it would fit him and his personality very well. But moving on, there are a number of conversations here. This is what's written about in regards to the Carolina Hurricanes. Eric Tulsky has been a Cowboy tier GM, having often traded for and away star players. They have exactly 1 point per game player this season and a middling power play. They have a sneaky decent group of prospects and a young NHL grade group of players that they could dangle in some combination of a first round pick and one of Bradley Nadeau, Jackson Blake, or even Logan Stankoven in a package for Petey. The Hurricanes also have oodles of cap space, north of $19 million at the moment, and they could fit Petey into their payroll without much trouble. He straight up fills a clear need on the team, too. A number 2 center behind Sebastian Aho. Now, there is a fly-in-the-ointment statement here, too. The Canes have so much cap space because they're careful with their contracts. They don't even have a single player making $10 million, and never have in their history. Cheat code Jeremy Welsh cap hit from the 2011-12 season accepted. Would it be reckless to spend so much on a single player when he's not 100% guaranteed to be an elite scorer again? And while Petey can score goals, he's not a true sniper. His career high is 39 goals. The Canes might be better pushing off for more of a gunner. Okay, look, I'll say this. Pettersson, when he is at his best, he is a sniper. He can fire it. He can beat goalies up high, bar down. The problem is we haven't seen that, really, in years. But when he is at his best, he is a 30-goal guy, and a guy that I do think has a very good sniping ability. Now, there are some other conversations here too. There's a conversation on Chicago, essentially saying here that Pettersson would be a very good fit alongside of Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar. He could handle tougher matchups and take pressure off of those guys. The Blackhawks also have more cap space than any other franchise in the NHL, and they will be fine next year too, even once we factor in the upcoming Bedard extension. Chicago also has more prospect capital than it knows what to do with, to the point that it's established one of the best groups of young talent that could build a compelling offer for Pettersson. When you have Bedard, Nazar, Levshunov, and Renzel with Anton Frondell on the way, you can afford to surrender a Sasha Boisvert or Oliver Moore or Marek Vanacker. Same goes for future first-round picks. Now, the fly in the ointment here is that Pettersson does have a full no move. I was told he had interest in Chicago a couple of years ago, but the Hawks haven't broken through as a playoff team since then. Pettersson is 27 now, and he may prefer to join a team that's further along in its cup chase. He'd help Chicago get good faster, but could still have to wait years before a realistic chance at a championship. Compare that to landing in Carolina, which would give him an immediate shot at a deep playoff run. Hey, just send over Anton Frondell, make it a 1-for-1 trade, and we'll be on our way. Okay, maybe not 1-for-1. Maybe Frondell and a first or something for Elias Pettersson. I'd be a very big fan of that. Then there are other conversations here. The Red Wings. We've already spoken about Detroit a whole bunch over the past few weeks. For many of the same reasons that the Red Wings are a Panarin destination, Elias Pettersson could be a better fit. The Wings have space, prospect pool, draft capital. A second-line center behind Larkin is a clear team need. As a bonus, they've got a lot of Swedes, from Raymond to Edvinsson to Sandin Pellikka to Albert Johansson, which could make the dressing room transition friendly for EP. Now, it's interesting. The fly in the ointment here is written about. It says, oh yeah, Steve Yzerman has been very conservative the past few years. Who knows if he's even willing to make a big blockbuster deal for a guy like Elias Pettersson. While he might fill a need, the Wings arguably require a top-4 defenseman even more than a center, and they might want to direct their resources accordingly. They sure could use someone like Hronek right now, eh? Oops. The LA Kings are in a pretty interesting spot. They already traded Philippe Deneau, Anze Kopitar is retiring later, and Quinton Byfield, he can't do it all himself. They have wingers Lafreniere and Armia playing center, Laferriere, and Kopitar and Turcotte are also injured. That's how bad it is. The Kings have an urgent need for a player of Pettersson's ilk who could take over Kopitar's role as a trusted all-situations horse. As a relatively laid-back market with plenty of other pro sports teams attracting attention, LA might appeal to Pettersson's aloof persona. Also worth noting, Pettersson is a client of Brisson and JP Barry as part of CAA, an LA-based agency. And fly in the ointment here, it's a divisional trade. Maybe it's not all too ideal for either team to set up the other like this. The Minnesota argument is interesting. They already had conversations to get the Quinn Hughes deal done in December, which is why the fly in the ointment is, hey, the Canucks already picked through the Wild's prospect pool and plucked 2 of their best prospects in Buljam and Ogren, plus their first. Vancouver might prefer to harvest from a different farm this time. The Wild may or may not be willing to move a goaltender like Jesper Wallstedt, but the Canucks have Demko and Lankinen locked up, so Wallstedt wouldn't make sense. In Philadelphia, I'm just going to go out there and say no to Philadelphia. We are not seeing Tocchet and PD 2.0. That is not happening. And then the San Jose Sharks. It would be fun to see PD play alongside of Kiefer Sherwood again. Flying the ointment, though, is that the Sharks are building around Celebrini and Misa. They need a winger more than they need a center, which explains the Artemi Panarin pursuit. In the short term, they don't have the cap space to fit Pettersson's full AAV, so they would have to send a meaningful NHL player Vancouver's way to balance the ledger, and that's always a delicate task to pull off. So with all this in mind, Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about these 6 Pettersson destination teams? The Red Wings, the Kings, the Hurricanes, and the Wild. Which ones are you interested in the most? Which ones do you think provide the best fit? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.